Yo people, welcome back to another video. I hope everyone's been doing well. Now, DC is in absolute meltdown at the moment for 4 different reasons, and it looks like this whole James Gunn reboot is going to take a bit longer than expected, which only puts more pressure on him to have to do well. And funnily enough, the 4 reasons are all related to the 4 films which they've either released or are going to release this year. So we can start with Shazam, which became the biggest comic book box office flop in the history, and now bear that in mind for what I'm going to tell you later on in the video. We then have the whole actors and writers strike, which we were then told by actors of the Blue Beetle movie that they would not be allowed to promote the movie. They're not going to do any trailers, no promotional videos, nothing, because they're on strike. And I did a whole separate video speaking about this if you wish to inform yourself more about what's going on. Then we got the news that the director for Aquaman 2 is threatening to sue DC if they delay the movie again. He must have seen the numbers for The Flash, and he just wants this movie, with Amber Heard in it by the way, to be over and done with. Nothing in the movie really contributing to the new James Gunn reboot, so it's kind of pointless. He probably wants it over and done with, deleted, forgotten about, and if possible his name not associated to the film. Blue Beetle and Aquaman, I think, are not going to be well received, unfortunately, especially for Blue Beetle. I don't really understand why Blue Beetle wasn't placed to release after Aquaman. It feels sandwiched in between 2 DC films that aren't part of the new era, part of the new reboot, and I think that this will affect Blue Beetle's numbers statistically at the box office. But now, to top off the continuous failures over at DC, it was reported that the Flash movie is set to officially lose over $200 million, which is glorious. It's a glorious type of humbling, the one that everyone wanted to see in regards to the Ezra Miller situation. We knew the Flash was finished, so there's no point hanging on to this superhero. He's finished. Just wait for the reboot and something greater will happen. But what these numbers mean in the grand scheme of things, and for the movie and superhero culture, is that this film is now the biggest comic book box office flop in the history of cinema. Now you must be wondering, what are the other films on this list? And before I show you, remember that this is all profit related, so it doesn't mean that this film's brought low amounts of money to the table. It means that this is how far away they were from breaking even to their respective budgets. And here's the list. So first place, like I mentioned, the newest DC film, The Flash. What an honor it must be for them to be breaking records, setting trends. Ezra Miller must be incredibly proud. He's breaking into homes, he's breaking women, he's breaking records, he's doing all these fantastic achievements. So congratulations to you, Ezra. And bear in mind, these people thought it would be a smart idea to promote this film during the Super Bowl. They actually paid for Super Bowl commercials. Go and do the maths for how much it costs just to have 30 seconds during the Super Bowl. And I told people that this would come back to bite them, but all the fanboys, they just had Ezra's wood in their mouth. They had Batman nostalgia wood, they had Keaton wood, they had all this wood at the same time. They wouldn't listen, they got triggered, and here we are. But wait, what have we got over here? Shazam 2 in the number 2 position, probably because the film represents a number 2. And this was the film that they released just before The Flash. So they've got the top 2 positions with their last 2 releases. We go down and we got Wonder Woman 2 in the number 3 position. DC were the ones convincing themselves and telling everyone, no, it only flopped because it was released in 2020. You know, we had COVID, we had the lockdown. And that's all a lie, because what also was released in December of 2020? Oh yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home, which reached over $1 billion. Number 4, we got The Dark Phoenix, which was an absolute joke of a film. Technically not part of the MCU, so they can't even hold that L as much as the other 3 films that I've just mentioned. But this film was an absolute disgrace. I actually watched it. It was an absolute flop. In the number 5 position, service resumes as normal as we got another DC product with Suicide Squad. I mean, it's pretty impressive that they managed to break their own records so often back to back. This is movie heritage. This is what will be known as movie heritage. People will look back on this and be like, you know that era of time between 2017 to 2023? DC kept breaking their own records for how much money they lost and how much of a flop their movies were. Number 6 was Black Adam, which, to be honest, it doesn't seem as bad compared to the way the media absolutely tried to shit on this film. But again, a late 2022 release from DC that makes the top 10. Number 7 was Fantastic Four, and to be honest, this was again before the MCU, before the DCEU. And also bear in mind that this film doesn't have the present day inflation, and if it did, I think we'd be looking at different numbers here. I think it's a film that got a lot of hate and I think that hate has died down. In number 8 is a film I've never heard of, to be honest, which shows how embarrassing films like The Flash are, where it beats films like this by about 110 million. It doesn't belong to DC or Marvel either, so I can't really knock this film, to be honest. Number 9, The New Mutants, and I assume that this is because they had a low budget, so the L of no one watching wasn't as bad, but it still made the top 10 despite no one watching it, despite the budget being low. To wrap up this whole list, in number 10, we got the infamous Green Lantern. This would be an interesting one if it came out in today's era. This would definitely be competing with The Flash and all those types of films if it had the present day inflation. It would definitely be above Fantastic Four without a doubt, but it would be interesting to see how these older films would kind of perform in this present day. Now, if we analyze this list, 6 out of 10 are from DC, and 4 out of those 6 are from the last 3 years. Now, I'm going to predict that, unfortunately, I think Blue Beetle may find itself in this list. It won't be as bad as The Flash. I think it will be from 5th place down. But Aquaman will definitely be competing. I think we could see Aquaman enter the top 3 for sure, because that film is going to stink it up. But yeah, at least this 2023 should be the end of an embarrassing era for DC, and 2024 onwards they can start cooking again with fresh ingredients, fresh ideas, and just a different feel for the DC universe. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like the video as well while you're at it. Subscribe if you're new around here. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.